Is there a compelling case for God's existence? The question of whether there is a conclusive argument for God's existence has been debated throughout history, with extremely intelligent people on opposing sides. Arguments against the possibility of God's existence have recently taken on a militant tone, accusing anyone who believes in God of being delusional and irrational. Karl Marx claimed that anyone who believes in God must have a mental disorder that leads to erroneous thinking. Sigmund Freud, a psychiatrist, wrote that anyone who believed in a creator God was delusional and only held those beliefs because of a wish fulfillment factor that produced what Freud considered an unjustifiable position. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher, stated unequivocally that faith is synonymous with a desire to know what is true. The voices of these three historical figures, among others, are simply now being parroted by a new generation of atheists who claim that belief in God is intellectually unwarranted. Is this a true statement? Is faith in God a rationally unsupportable position to take? Is there a logical and reasonable case for God's existence? Can a case for God's existence be made outside of the Bible that refutes the positions of both old and new atheists and provides sufficient justification for believing in a creator? Yes, it can, according to the answer. Furthermore, by demonstrating the validity of an argument for God's existence, the case for atheism is demonstrated to be intellectually weak. An argument in support of God's existence, something rather than nothing. To make an argument for God's existence, we must first ask the right questions. We start with the most fundamental metaphysical question: why do we have something instead of nothing at all? This is the fundamental question of existence. Why are we here? Why is the earth here? And why is the universe here rather than nowhere? One theologian commented on this point, saying, in one sense, man does not ask the question about God. His very existence raises the question about God. In considering this question, there are four possible answers to why we have something rather than nothing at all. Number 1, reality is an illusion. Number 2, reality is or was self-created. Number 3, reality is self-existent, eternal. Number 4, reality was created by something that is self-existent. So, what is the most likely solution? Let us begin with the belief that reality is merely an illusion, as held by a number of Eastern religions. René Descartes, the philosopher famous for the statement, "I think, therefore I am," ruled out this option centuries ago. Descartes, a mathematician, contended that if he is thinking, he must also be. To put it another way, I think, therefore I am not an illusion. Illusions necessitate something experiencing the illusion, and you can't doubt your own existence without first proving it. It's a self-defeating argument. As a result, the possibility of reality being an illusion is ruled out. The next possibility is that reality is self-created. We learn about analytically false statements in philosophy, which means they are false by definition. One of these statements is the possibility of reality being self-created, for the simple reason that something cannot be prior to itself. If you created yourself, you must have existed before you created yourself, which is simply not possible. This is sometimes referred to in evolution as spontaneous generation, something coming from nothing, a position that few, if any, reasonable people hold any more simply because you cannot get something from nothing. Even atheist Dave Hume stated, "I never asserted such an absurd proposition as that anything could arise without a cause. Because something cannot be created from nothing, the possibility of reality being self-created is ruled out. Now we have only two options: an eternal reality, or a reality created by something eternal; an eternal universe, or an eternal creator." Jonathan Edwards, an 18th century theologian, summed up this crossroads: something exists. Nothing cannot create something. Therefore, a necessary and eternal something exists. It is important to note that we must return to an eternal something. The atheist who mocks the believer in God because he believes in an eternal creator must turn around and embrace an eternal universe. It is the only other option he has. But now, the question is, where does the evidence point? Is the evidence pointing to matter coming before mind, or mind coming before matter? All key scientific and philosophical evidence to date points away from an eternal universe and towards an eternal creator. Honest scientists admit that the universe had a beginning, and that whatever has a beginning is not eternal. In other words, everything that has a beginning has a cause, and the universe had a beginning. Evidence such as the second law of thermodynamics, the radiation echo of the Big Bang discovered in the early 1900s, the fact that the universe is expanding and can be traced back to a singular beginning, and Einstein's theory of relativity, all point to the universe having a beginning. All of this demonstrates that the universe is not eternal. Furthermore, the law of causation speak against the universe being the ultimate cause of everything we know, for the simple reason that an effect must resemble its cause. Given this, no atheist can explain how an impersonal, purposeless, meaningless, and immoral universe created beings, us, who are full of personality and obsessed with purpose, meaning, and morals by accident. From the standpoint of causation, such a thing completely refutes the idea of a natural universe birthing everything that exists. As a result, the concept of an eternal universe is rendered obsolete. J.S. Mill, a non-Christian philosopher, summed up where we've arrived. It is self-evident that only mind can create mind. The only logical and reasonable conclusion is that an eternal creator is to blame for reality as we know it. To put it another way, consider the following logical set of statements. Something exists. You do not get something from nothing. Therefore, a necessary and eternal something exists. The only two options are an eternal universe and an eternal creator. Science and philosophy have disproven the concept of an eternal universe. Therefore, an eternal creator exists. Former atheist Lee Strobel stated, "Essentially, I realized that to remain an atheist, I would have to believe that nothing produces everything. Non-life produces life. Randomness produces fine-tuning. Chaos produces information. Unconsciousness produces consciousness. And non-reason produces reason. Those leaps of faith were simply too great for me to take, especially given the affirmative case for God's existence." In other words, the Christian worldview, in my opinion, accounted for the totality of the evidence far better than the atheistic worldview. Knowing the Creator is an argument for God's existence. But the next question we must address is this. If an eternal Creator exists, which we have demonstrated, what kind of Creator is He? Can we infer anything about Him from His creation? In other words, can we deduce the cause from its consequences? The answer is yes, we can, with the following characteristics assuming. He must be of supernatural origin. He has created time and space. He must be strong, exceedingly. He has to be eternal, self-existent. He must be everywhere at all times. He created space and is not limited by it. He must be eternal and unchanging. He created time. Because he transcends space, physicality, he must be immaterial. He should be personable. The most impersonal cannot create personality. He must be both infinite and singular, as two infinites cannot exist. He must be diverse while remaining united, just as unity and diversity exist in nature. He should be intelligent, supremely. Only cognitive beings are capable of producing cognitive beings. He must be deliberate, as he created everything on purpose. He must have moral values. No moral law can be had without a giver. He must be concerned, or no moral laws would have been given. Given these facts, we must ask whether any religion in the world describes such a creator. The answer is yes. The God of the Bible perfectly fits this profile. He is supernatural, Genesis 1:1. Powerful, Jeremiah 32:17. Eternal, Psalm 92. Omnipresent, Psalm 139:7. Timeless, changeless, Malachi 3:6. Immaterial, John 4:24. Personal, Genesis 3:9. Necessary, Colossians 1:17. Infinite, singular, Jeremiah 23:24. Deuteronomy 6:4. Diverse, yet with unity, Matthew and 1 Peter 5:6 and 7. The flaws of atheism as an argument for God's existence. One final point to discuss regarding God's existence is the question of how justifiable the atheist's position is. Given that the atheist believes the believer's position is flawed, it is only natural to reframe the question and direct it squarely at him. The first thing to understand is that the atheist claim, no God, which is what atheist means, is philosophically untenable position to hold. According to legal scholar and philosopher Mortimer Adler, an affirmative existential proposition can be proven, but a negative existential proposition, one that denies the existence of something, cannot be proven. Someone may claim that a red eagle exists, while another may claim that red eagles do not exist. The former only needs to find a single red eagle to back up his claim. The latter, on the other hand, must comb the entire universe and literally be in every place at the same time to ensure he has not missed a red eagle somewhere at some time, which is impossible. This is why intellectually honest atheists admit they can't prove God doesn't exist. Following that, it is crucial to comprehend the debate over the seriousness of truth claims and the amount of evidence required to support certain conclusions. For example, if someone puts 2 containers of lemonade in front of you and says that one may be more tart than the other, you would not need a lot of evidence to make your decision, because the consequences of getting the more tart drink would be minor. However, if the host added sweetener to one cup but rat poison to the other, you'd want to have a lot of evidence before making your decision. When deciding between atheism and belief in God, this is where a person sits, because belief in atheism may have irreversible and eternal consequences. It would appear that the atheist should be required to produce weighty and overwhelming evidence to support his position, but he cannot. Atheism simply cannot meet the standard for evidence for the gravity of the charge leveled. Instead, the atheist and those he persuades of his position slide into eternity, crossing their fingers that they do not discover the unpleasant truth that eternity does exist. According to Mortimer Adler, the affirmation or denial of God has more consequences for life and action than any other basic question. The conclusion of an argument for the existence of God. So, does faith in God have intellectual justification? Is there a logical, rational, and reasonable argument for God's existence? Absolutely. While atheists like Freud claim that those who believe in God have a wish fulfillment desire, it is possible that it is Freud and his followers who suffer from wish fulfillment. The hope and wish that there is no God, no accountability, and thus no judgment. But in contrast to Freud, the God of the Bible affirms his existence and the fact that a judgment is coming for those who know within themselves that he exists but suppress that knowledge. Romans 1:20. But for those who respond to the evidence that a creator exists, he offers the way of salvation accomplished through his Son, Jesus Christ. But to as many as received him, he gave the right to become children of God, even to those who believe in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of God. John 1:12-13. And that does it for today's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you deem me worthy. I would really appreciate it. So until next time, this is General Jason saying Semper Paratus. Always ready for my Lord.